How you doing?
Yoo-hoo! Hey, how you doing? Saturday again, November 21st, 2020. How you doing? Joe Walsh here. It's 88.5 FM. My guest this week is Dewey Bunnell from the band America. You know Dewey. He's the guy that sings Horse with No Name. And how can you not like America? So we had a nice visit, and we'll listen to the first half after the first hour at 7 o'clock. And then the second half of the visit will be towards the end of the second hour, plus or minus 8 o'clock. So Dewey Bunnell from America, him and his partner Jerry Beckley have written a whole bunch of songs that you can't not like. Because of my guest, we don't have time for Ask Joe's, but I want to remind you that if you go to 885fm.org, there's a link on that page where you could ask me anything you want. Most things I can answer, some I can't, probably legally, or it would be best not to, you know, but most anything you ask me, I will answer for you. So Ask Joe's, send them in, and we'll get to those next week. There is one Ask Joe that I did want to answer, and it's from Ireland. That's a guy's name, Ireland, and he listens in British Columbia, Canada, and he's 14 years old. And Ireland asked me, "Hey Joe, do you still carry a chainsaw around with you to hotels?" Ireland, how you doing? That's a pretty good question. No, I gave up on the chainsaw, so I don't carry a chainsaw around to hotels. But I will give you a tip. This would be much better for being 14 years old. If you do want to get in trouble, I would recommend super glue. There's amazing things you can do to a hotel room with super glue. And just make sure that you get checked out and out of the hotel before the maid discovers it. But, you know, glue all the drawers shut in the dresser, glue the phone down to the table, glue the toilet seat down, both of them, you know, glue the lamp to the ceiling upside down. I would recommend super glue for a dude of your age. If you want to get in trouble, that's my idea of how I've talked enough. Plus or minus 2 hours of music. I'll be back after the first batch and we'll visit some more. 88.5 FM, welcome to the show. 88.5 FM, Joe Walsh. All down the line, Rolling Stones, Woman, John Lennon. That's a remix, souped up version. I like it better than the single. The Way It Is, Bruce Hornsby, and Into the Night by a band named Carousel. They're Swiss French. So we're getting ready for our visit with Dewey Bunnell from America, the band, and a Robert Plant song coming up that I really like. 88.5 FM, Joe Walsh here. Time for our visit with Dewey Bunnell. He's a wonderful guy. He's a great musician, and how can you not like Horse with No Name? We have half of our visit now, and then the other half will be at the end of hour 2, and we'll get started.
I'm here.
Hi, man.
Hey.
Wow. You guys were stationed in London, near London. Your dad?
Well, my dad was in the Air Force. Of course, I was the oldest of 3 kids. I had a younger brother and younger sister, and we moved around a lot. My dad had married an English woman, and I was the firstborn in England, in Yorkshire, 1952, January 19th, 1952.
Oh, I'm so jealous that you went to high school in London. England was just the center of the universe then.
We got to see great music. I saw Hendrix, the Jimi Hendrix Experience at the Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah, see, you got to see all that stuff.
Saw Led Zeppelin at the Royal Albert Hall.
Woo.
It was awesome.
You make an album, right? And then you have a hit record coming out of high school.
Well, there was about 1 year. Literally, we graduated 69. Like I said, Dan went off to college, so you could chew up the rest of 69. He comes back Christmas. And then into 1970, that first couple of months of 70 is when we looked at each other and said, I've written a song, and Jerry wrote a song, and Dan wrote some songs. We sat around with nothing to do, no money, and started arranging these things. And Jerry, he had gotten into a studio somehow by hook or crook. You'd have to ask Jerry how he did that. And he was like an assistant tape op or something. Anyway, and then one night, one of the producer or whoever it was asked him, Jerry said, I play guitar, I can play that part. And Jerry went out and like nailed a part on a 12-string or something on a track. And one thing led to another. And then we jumped to another guy named Jeff Dexter who had more pull. And he was a big MC compere kind of local celeb in London who introduced acts on stage, big stages, introduced, the Isle of Wight Festival. He got us on the bill, believe it or not, with Elton John and The Who at this one big show.
Horse with No Name was the first thing?
First single. It wasn't part of the first batch of songs for that first album. We had worked out 10 songs or whatever it was, 12 songs for the first album, and the song called I Need You, which was another song.
Right.
Yeah, that was going to be the single, but as fate would have it, then they come back and say, well, you guys got any more songs? Of course, we've been writing songs. And Horse with No Name was in that batch. And so they paid to have us record those, and we recorded demos. And they liked that one, and it went on the record, and then they picked that as a single. We didn't really have a lot of control over that. We really were still learning the ropes.
I remember it well, man.
We screwed ourselves, and as time went by, we signed away publishing and everything else back then. But we just wanted to get our music out. We got a real live record, and that was top of the world for us.
Yeah,
probably for you and your beginnings, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Just here, sign this, kid.
Yeah. Oh, boy. And you can never get out of those.
You don't have to read it. It's okay. Yeah. Well, Horse with No Name, as you know, is a special song. Everybody knows, everybody in the whole world knows that song.
It's, a tip. Just put a lot of la-las in there. La, 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 la.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Repetition is good.
And that transfers, nationally. Once more in Spanish. La, la, la.
Yeah.
Whatever. We made all those jokes.
Well, it really, too, was the Southern California vision of, Joshua Tree and out in the desert and all that.
Yes. In all seriousness, I joke about it. Obviously, it's an important song to me, and it kicked off our career. And it did mean a lot to me because I was trying to put into words the sights and sounds of the desert. A lot of people thought it was about drugs or they make up their own things. But for me, I always loved the desert and the times we'd spent in Southern California. You named it too, the Mojave Desert. And we'd go into Arizona, and I had relatives in New Mexico, and my dad's brother was in the Army over there. So I saw a lot of the desert. And I miss that, man. I miss that. Living in England is everything they say. It's got a wet climate. We were stationed in San Jose also at a base in Sunnyvale. And I remember telling my mom, I'm going to live in California when I grow up, And oh yeah, because we'd moved around so much. We didn't have a home. We didn't really have a home state.
Yeah, military. Yeah.
So, and lo and behold, even that dream came true, courtesy of the music and the success and all of that. But nowhere else I wanted to be at that time. In California, it was an inspiration. And the Beach Boys music was so big for us. And Brian Wilson, all of that stuff. It really was addictive or attractive or a pull, a draw. I don't know. I couldn't think of anywhere else I'd want to live at that point. I mean, we've seen the world now, all us musicians, all us old veterans of the road. But, California was always the place to come back to, as Joni Mitchell would sing.
88.5 FM, Joe Walsh here. Hey, coming up, guilty of the crime, Frankie Miller, buddy of mine from Scotland. He sounds just like Otis Redding. Ain't Gonna Bump No Mo, Joe Tex. I played that a couple weeks ago, but decided I wanted to hear it again, and I hope you like it. Red Light, Johnny Lang. He's really good. And we'll go out with Rockin' in the Free World. We'll give the football to Neil Young for that. That's appropriate somehow for right now. And that'll be the show. Then we'll do the second part of the visit with Dewey Bunnell from America. That'll do it for this week. Next week we'll have a guest, and I think I'm going to play live next week, and we'll have Ask Joe's. What fun. How you doing? Have a great Thanksgiving. Wear your masks. I don't know how you eat turkey wearing a mask, but figure it out. Hang in there. We're hoping the vaccine will make live music possible next year. I got the word that the engines are starting up for live entertainment. I'm looking forward to that. See you next week.
Ventura Highway.
Yeah.
Well, that was the second album, and that's what was made there in L.A., under the umbrella of the Geffen Roberts Lookout Management. So now we're in a real studio, the record plant. And we don't have a rhythm section. It's just three of us on stools with acoustics.
Right.
Jerry and Dan would switch off on a bass guitar now and then. So now we get Hal Blaine and Joe Osborne from the Wrecking Crew, who I didn't know from Adam.
Jeez.
I really had a major education in this business. I was so naive and so uninitiated, and there we are, like I said, in the deep end. And now we've got a rhythm section. Now we're going to make the second album. And fortunately, we're still writing. That's the one thing we were doing pretty prolifically, wake up every morning and practically start a new song every day in those days. I wish I had that juice now.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of people corrected me. I wrote that song too, because I was remembering Ventura when we lived there at Vandenberg Air Force Base and driving in my family's station wagon with my family down to LA to go to Disneyland or something. And I always remember seeing Ventura signs. And I just was coming up with this phrase, Ventura Highway. Mm-hmm. And as it turned out, as soon as I got here, people were correcting me over and over. Hey man, it's not Ventura Highway, it's Ventura Freeway. Well, I said the song's recorded. Sorry, that horse has left the barn. So there was no change in it at that point. And then on the third album, we were fortunate to get you to play on one of our songs.
Yeah, I did.
Green Monkey. That was a heady time. That office was bustling.
Yeah.
Because Irving came in.
Yeah.
Did Irving bring you in there? Is that how that worked? I don't even know.
Yeah.
We were constantly on the road. We'd come in and out. And I remember I did get to spend some time playing cards with you guys a few times around. Yeah. But you're right. We all went our separate ways. We crossed paths in that office. But I was thinking when you were talking earlier about this, that we never really played with the Eagles. We were on a festival or two that the Eagles were on, but we were on the day before. Or so a lot of my friends and people and family all go, you must know all the Eagles and hang out and played with them. And it's funny how that didn't happen so much. J.D. Souther, in the early beginnings of the Eagles, he did come out as an opener for us when we were with that on the heels of that first album. Yeah. And Jackson came out on that second big tour. Yeah. As our opener, which was a real feather in our cap, and we really loved that. Yeah. But we never had Joe Walsh out with us.
Well, you're probably better off.
You know, you don't get this far without going through, I probably don't have to tell you, without jumping through some fires and saving yourself or from the rigors of this business. And everything sounds cliche, you know, Joe. I can't even really put a serious, fame and fortune and money and success and the pressure and interviews and touring and I succumbed to, self-medication and things like that. But I certainly did my share, and I'm sober now, and my life has gotten a lot better, but I'm old. I mean, I'm old now. It's not like I wouldn't have had the wherewithal or the desire to change my path for many, many years and decades.
The only thing that I would change, if I could change anything, was that I would have wrote all these songs down a half a key, so that I could sing them when I was old. Had I known that I would have to sing them, in the 70s, I mean, I would have wrote In the City down a half for sure.
Yeah, I hear you, and that's true. You've got a good voice, so you've held on to your voice.
Well, you too, buddy. You're steady, and that's a beautiful thing that we made it. We made it through all of that. A lot of our buddies, crashed and burned, but there's a certain grace in the fact that we're still doing it and we can work at our craft, and that's
it's remarkable. And I have to say, as far as that singing and playing thing, the live show, it's become my bread and butter. I love doing it, and I am fortunate that my voice is hung in there. I haven't gotten to be a better player. I'm not a better musician by any stretch, but I do enjoy getting up and delivering that show. And we have, we've been fortunate to find players in our band, Jerry and I, that have stayed with us a long, long time. All right, brother, I love you. And
I love you too, Dewey.
Having on the show.
Great visit, and thanks for that. It's going to make a lot of people happy.
Well, thanks. I'll see you again on Monday night or something, somewhere.
You got a deal.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Peace. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.